Rainbow Six Siege has seen many operators added over the years it's been out, and when you add operators to a game for 8 years, some are bound to be pretty useless. So in today's video, I'll be breaking down the operators in Siege that I think need some buffs desperately. There'll be 8 of them in this video, and I don't want to waste your time, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first and arguably the operator most in need of a buff is Calli. Calli struggles in Siege for multiple reasons that I laid out in my Calli vs. Glass video, but I'll go ahead and give a little breakdown here as well. Basically, Calli has a sniper rifle, and in a game with one-shot headshot and fast time to kill, this makes it hard to use her sniper without dying. Also, it doesn't help that her sniper is extremely inconsistent. Sometimes it will just not one-shot, even if your bullets land. This can make her frustrating to use, and it adds on to her weaknesses. However, the one good thing about her is that her gadget isn't terrible in my opinion. Being able to destroy 4 pieces of utility isn't anything to scoff at. However, she still needs some love when it comes to her loadout in my eyes. I would recommend buffing her by first making her sniper ADS quicker because it's way too slow right now. Also, they should make the sniper one-shot enemies no matter where they are hit or the range. This would make her sniper way more consistent and enjoyable to use. Some people suggest that she should get a whole new primary weapon option, but I think she should keep the sniper. It's a unique part of her, and I think the trade-off of a good gadget but difficult to use weapon is a decent idea. Now, the next operator, Sins, has a slightly different problem. Sins' issue is that their loadout and gadget both could use some work. Their gun, the POF9, is extremely weak for an assault rifle. The damage isn't great and the fire rate is mid. The only thing going for it is its large magazine size, but at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter much when the DPS is so low. Also, their gadget is kind of mid as well. The problem is that since the smoke walls, A, aren't much better than smoke grenades, and B, they are countered extremely easily. To solve all of these huge problems with Sins, I recommend buffing their gun's damage by maybe 5 or so, and I recommend making their gadget immune to explosives. Being able to just explode Sins' walls with one well-placed impact grenade feels kind of bad in my opinion, but outside of that, I don't know what they could do to Sins. All I know is that Sins definitely needs something given to them. They are really not in a good position right now. Moving past Sins, Tachanka is another operator I think needs some help. Now, don't get me wrong, I know his LMG is beyond broken right now, and I think that should be toned down, but his actual gadget is a huge issue. Tachanka's gadget, the fireball launcher, as I'm sure you all know, is a very difficult gadget to find anything good about. It is slow, difficult to switch to and from, and the fire it launches has an extremely small radius, and the time they last are extremely slow. All of these problems with Tachanka's gadget puts Tachanka at risk of dying anytime he pulls his gadget out. This is because someone can easily just run through his fire and kill him before he can even react. To solve all of these issues with him, I recommend making everything with his gadget faster. You should be able to swap to and from his launcher faster, and you should be able to shoot fire much more quickly. Also, they should make his fire last much longer and potentially deal some extra damage. These changes will make Tachanka players feel safer when using his gadget, and they will make his gadget feel better to use overall. As for our next operator, Thunderbird, she is in a very similar situation to Tachanka because her gadget is in desperate need of some buffs, and that isn't even mentioning the problems with her loadout. If you don't know, Ubisoft recently removed Thunderbird's nitro cell and impacts, replacing them with barbed wire and the bulletproof camera. This completely ruined her loadout, and it definitely hurt her in the long run. However, the nerfs to her gadget, aka making her Kona stations heal for less, completely killed her gadget in my opinion. Thunderbird is meant to be a healer that you can rely on for some quick and easy HP in a pinch, and only getting 20 HP from a Kona station is basically nothing. It doesn't even heal you enough to take an extra bullet, and even if you have all 3 Kona stations stacked up, you only get 60 HP from the interaction. This means that you can only heal yourself for a little over half your HP if Thunderbird dedicates all her Konas in one area. This is really bad, and considering how inconsistent healing can be in a game with one-shot headshot, I definitely think she could use something to boost her up. Me personally, I would increase the HP back up to what it used to be, 30 per station, and I would maybe even give her impacts back instead of her bulletproof camera. This would be a pretty good start, but she might even need more than that in the future to make her truly viable in a competitive setting. We just have to see, but I definitely recommend starting with something like this. Moving past Thunderbird, we have another operator that is in a really sad state in my opinion, that being Maloi. Maloi is an operator that was extremely overpowered at one point, but after Ubisoft took her on a nerf streak, she is in a really bad spot right now. Her gadget is weak, her guns are weak, and her secondary gadgets are extremely mid. Now, if you don't know why this is, let me explain. Firstly, her gadget is weak because her banshees can easily be dealt with by just shooting them after they refill their core. Then her guns are weak because she only has access to an MP5 without any magnification sights, which is awful compared to other operators. And finally, she only has impact grenades and a bulletproof camera as her secondary options, which really isn't anything crazy. The way I would recommend fixing this cluster of an operator would be to give her MP5 access to the 1.5 scope. I would buff her gadget by making it take longer to expose its core, and I would also give her access to a secondary shotgun. This would make her way more viable in the rank space, and the only reason why I say that she needs the 1.5 is because she is a 3 armor. Every other 3 armor on defense that has the MP5 can use the 1.5 scope on it. Melusi should have that same right. I know this whole section may be controversial, but I truly believe Melusi needs some buffs to be effective these days. Now, for IQ, I think she has some amazing potential, but she still could use some minor buffs. The reason for this is because her gadget is extremely niche. IQ is only viable when electronics are on the defensive side, because that's what her gadget can detect. But if there are no soft surfaces like floors for her to take advantage of, then her gadget is basically useless. It will only give you intel on the gadgets, but you can't actually destroy them. I honestly think that a good change for IQ would be to give her the option between impact EMPs and frag grenades as her secondary options. Both of these mesh extremely well with her primary gadget, and it would also help her to react to the intel she is gathering. But outside of that, I think IQ is fine. She has good guns, she is a 3-speed, and her gadget can be useful. I just think some extra little bits of utility could help to make her easier to use in a ranked environment. After IQ, my next operator for this list, Maestro, is in a completely different position than anyone else on this list. The reason for this is because the only thing wrong with Maestro is the sheer number of counters he has. His gadget can be destroyed with explosives, disabled with EMPs, and they can be meleeed to deny any intel gathering they could provide. All of these manners in which to deal with him basically means that every operator in the game can counter him in one way or another. This is just simply too much in my opinion. I think Ubisoft at the very least should remove one of the 3 options. I think the 2 that would make the most sense to remove would be the attacker's ability to shatter the glass on his cameras with a melee, or the EMP's ability to disable his gadget. Removing either one would make him much more difficult to deal with, and it would make attackers actually have to think about what to do. Outside of that, I think he's in a fine state. His guns are good, and I love his gameplay loop. I just think he needs some tweaks to make him actually viable to pick and rank, because right now he is extremely easy to counter. Moving past Maestro, Thorn is another operator I think is in desperate need of some changes. Now, before you say anything, I know that the 1.5 she has is an issue, and I think it should be removed. But that is the exact reason I'm worried about Thorn's future. Ubisoft's decision to give her the 1.5 means that she probably won't get the buff she desperately needs, those buffs being targeted at her gadget itself. I'm sure we can all agree Thorn probably has the worst gadget out of all the trap operators. This is because each razor bloom takes forever to detonate, which allows people to easily escape, and they can be heavily inconsistent with their damage. So to help fix the problem, I think Ubisoft should make them detonate quicker, and I would recommend trying to make the razor blooms more consistent. Sometimes their warnings will make sense, and other times you'll walk into a razor bloom, run out of the warning's radius, and still die. This makes going against it kind of infuriating, and it makes her gadget feel inconsistent. Fixing these things would make her make more sense, and it would potentially allow her to be more than just an operator with a 1.5. Anyways, that wraps up today's video. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with this list in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Also, if you want to see yourself in future videos, join up in my Discord. I want to get active over there, so don't be afraid to stop by. If you want to watch another video just like this one, I'll be popping up on your screen right now, where I talk about the most underrated operators in Rainbow Six Siege. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.